Welcome to the Whispering Soul. My name is Nancy Vellante, and I am an intuitive astrologer and certified wellness coach. And I wanted to come on today to talk about what it might feel like, or what does it look like to return home to ourselves. And I want to talk about this because today is March 10th, 2026, and Jupiter turns direct in Cancer. Now, this signature, Jupiter in Cancer, has been retrograde for several months, since November 11th, 2026. So there's the number 1111. So Jupiter went into Cancer on that portal of 1111. I love that. What a powerful energy to come into as we were asked to turn inward. And what were we asked to turn inward to do or to feel? Well, Jupiter is the planet of expansion, wisdom, and truth. So when it comes through Cancer, when it moves through Cancer, the realm of the moon is the ruler of Cancer. Cancer is water. It embodies memory and emotional belonging. So growth doesn't happen through pushing forward with Cancer. It happens through feeling. I'll pause there for a moment. So Cancer governs the inner landscape of our somatic body inwardly, inside, our emotional foundations, our ancestry, our inner child, and the concept of home. As Cancer in the zodiac circle rules the fourth house of emotional foundations, of ancestry, of the inner child, and the concept of home and belonging. And how do we express that in a creative manner in this emotional landscape that we are constantly healing and moving and changing our perception and changing our truth, Jupiter, our wisdom, Jupiter in this case. So during this retrograde period, many of us were asked to pause and reconsider what truly provides emotional safety. That's a big question. Not the kind of security defined by the outside world of success, of how do we get validated? Oh, do you like me? Oh, can I do this for you? And yes, right? All those things that make us feel good. But we're talking here, Jupiter retrograde in Cancer was talking about the kind that lives quietly within the body. Growth slowed down for a reason. Jupiter in Cancer hasn't returned here in about 12 years. So this archetype carries the symbolism of the crab, moving between vulnerability and protection. So it's been 12 years since Jupiter has expanded this kind of maybe thoughts within us in a way that is meant to be really reflective, very deep. So the symbolism of the crab is the crab retreats into its shell when needed. And when the environment changes, it leaves that shell behind. Not because it failed, but because it has grown. Sometimes the shell simply no longer fits. And this is a powerful metaphor for this cycle that we've now completed. We've completed the retrograde. We're still completing the journey of Jupiter in Cancer moving direct. We get to see the benefits. So during the retrograde, we may have noticed old emotional patterns resurfacing. I really did, and I wasn't really thinking about it because it was just happening. I would all of a sudden have these memories of, oh, wow, that happened in childhood. Oh, what was that about? Oh, how did that make me feel? How does that pertain to who I am right now? family dynamics, instinctive reactions that reveal how we protect ourselves. Do we get defensive? Do we just hide? Do we go into the shell? We don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be seen. Or do we come out and we're saying maybe the things that we really don't mean? These are all the things that might have come up, which are beautiful because that means or that is insightful of growth. These patterns live inside the body. They live inside our cells. They shape how we open to life and how we close ourselves off from life, from others, from self. So Jupiter asks us to look at these patterns without judgment. Boy, is that hard. That is so easy to say, but it takes practice and practice to not judge our patterns. I think it's taken me years in different patterns to let go of the judgment. And we have the time. And time is different for everybody. To listen to what our emotions were trying to tell us during maybe these patterns that have come up. What are they telling us? What are we hearing? What are we feeling? Jupiter asks, can you reconsider what belonging really means? Home is not just a place. And I want to stop there for a minute because I want to tell you a story. When I was in my graduate program, I was in writing. I did a multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary MFA in the arts. And I was really interested in what home was, belonging, place. So I did a lot of work through videos, through movement, through writing about these particular questions. And I was writing a paper, and I happened to come on my research about a homeless man. And the man that was interviewing him asked him, "Where is your home?" And this particular man was living in a box. He was living in a box. And the man said, "This is my home." And that really struck me because we have all these ideals or ideas of what home should be or what it is, of what we've made it in our culture, in our society. But there's many different levels of what home is. And that struck me as actually something very beautiful in a sense because of the truth that this man said and the vulnerability that it took for him to say that. That always struck with me, and I've had my BFA now for a good 12 years, and I still think about that all the time. So home is not just a place. It is a feeling. It is the space where our nervous system softens, where we are allowed to be fully human in whatever that is. Different for everybody. Where our intuition is trusted. As Jupiter turns direct today, the energy shifts. The tide moves. We begin moving from reflection toward expression. The emotional insights gathered over the past months now want to live in the real world. To me, today and yesterday, I went to the ocean and I walked 2 days in a row. And I could feel the momentum moving quietly forward. I felt I had to be in that environment. And I didn't rush. It wasn't forced, but embodied. So it doesn't have to be rushed, doesn't have to be forced. We can take our time, excuse me, to embody what we need with support wherever we cultivate that. So we are learning the real expansion, right? It's not about overreaching. The expansion is about nourishment, Cancer, to self. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And Cancer asks that expansion to come from care, creativity, and emotional truth. Because Jupiter can expand that in which we also indulge in, right? So we want to keep it as positive as we can. And if we can and we do indulge, then we become mindful. It's okay. As long as we're not hurting ourselves, that we're gaining support somewhere along the way, we become conscious. So this moment today becomes a turning point. A quiet but meaningful transition from an inner recalibration to an outward growth. Whatever that is, small or large, and I always say that. And I really want to say that because Jupiter likes large. It could still be large within the small, if that makes sense. From questioning what home means to creating spaces within and around us that truly support who we are becoming. I want to go back to the question that I just asked for a moment. What does home mean? And I've always been asked, not always, but I've been asked in my life, what is your dream home? And I always say, and I really, truly mean this, my dream home is where I live. Right here, right now. So as we create the spaces inside our body and around us, that becomes sacred space. That truly gives us support for who we want to become. What is our potential for growth? You can write those down. What is it that you want around home, around the space that you create in order to make it sacred? So the question now is simple, maybe. What emotional ground feels stable beneath your feet? Let's take a breath right there. Let that just filter as much as you can through the whole body, deep into the feet. What kind of home are you ready to grow into? Now, that doesn't mean it has to be a structure. What kind of home are you wanting to grow into as far as your creative thoughts go? Where is home when you want to create something? It's a feeling. It's not just a structure, but it's a feeling. And how do I grow into that? Well, it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes a form of discipline, and it takes motivation. And perhaps most importantly, what parts of yourself are ready to come out of the shell? You know, when you're walking on the beach, depending on, what's on that beach, beaches have different shells and maybe has a lot of seaweed or a lot of driftwood, but the kind that has, the shells that you'll see crabs in and out, how many of those shells do you see that are left? And then you'll come across the shells that still have the crab in. And you go over to pick it up, and the crab retreats back into the shell. And then when you walk away, you see that crab come out. That's Cancer. That's that beautiful archetype. To me, there's an ancient quality in the archetype of Cancer because it does hold the lineage of our ancestors. The lineage, maybe, if I shall, the DNA from past, which takes us into the present, and the present takes us into the future. So with your feet on the ground, maybe you go after you listen to this podcast, drink a nice glass of water. Maybe you live by the ocean, take a walk. Maybe you're taking a walk, and now that in my neck of the woods, which is the Northeast, the snow is starting to melt. Maybe you see a pool of water. Whatever that is, take that in. What parts of yourself are ready to come out of the shell? I'll leave you with that question today. And I hope you have a beautiful evening, day, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to talking with you again. Take care for now.